that right there, that's going to be a fight. That's going to be a fight or people check out. If you feel like your differentiation level is bummy, then we got to step your game up. If not, it's game recognized game. Millennials specifically are having less sex than ever. We're not trying to do the Henry Ford work yourself to death for 40 hours because millennials will quit. You tolerate
they don't have
it.
no filter.
They don't. I be catching strays all the time.
Like, this is what I said, and I said what I said.
And I meant it. It's a traumatic thing for people not to have control of their bodies and somebody else is doing something that they don't like.
I always have to perform, and if I'm not ready to perform, then that means that I'm not doing something right.
Just because you've been having sex with a person doesn't mean that consent can't be taken away mid-stroke.
Welcome to another episode of Keep On Loving the Podcast. I'm your favorite host, Mystkue Woods, and I'm so excited to be here with my favorite, Dr. Lexx. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So before we get into this, I just want you to go ahead and, tell us about yourself. Put some sunshine on these folks. Let them know who you are.
Let's go. So I am Dr. Lexx Brown James. She, her, doctor are my pronouns. I typically reside on Lenape land, which is right on the border of Philadelphia and Delaware. I'm originally, though, from Atlanta, Georgia, College Park to be specific. And, right, I am the coolest nerd you will ever meet. Things that are important to know is that I'm a Black, fat, natural-haired, pansexual parent. I call my babies hating-ass babies, but I also call them gems. So they're HABs for short, depending on how much they're trolling my life. And I'm a PhD-level sexologist with a LMFT, certification in sex education, certification in sex education supervision. So I got a lot of letters that say I talk about sex a lot.
And that's it. All right. So today we're talking about something that is super important that, for lack of better words, is oftentimes not reflected well in professional and social spaces, and that is emotional intelligence. So, when you hear emotional intelligence, what do you think, or who do you think that doesn't happen?
Yeah,
no shade.
People get real defensive around it. It's really explosive. Simply, it just means that you're aware of your own feelings and you're aware of somebody else's feelings too. Right? In therapy world, we say our big word is differentiation, which means I have my own feelings about this and you have your own feelings about this, and they don't have to be the same. Or just because you feel a way about it doesn't mean I have to feel a way about it. So emotional intelligence typically nowadays is weaponized against men. So cis het men get the weapon of being emotionally inept. They get the weaponized incompetence, right? So it's like, oh, you act like you don't know how to do this. And part of that comes with emotionality.
Interesting. Sorry, men. I apologize in advance. Well, sometimes they don't. Yeah. But also, I think there's something to be said about that. And I would kind of argue that it depends on how they were raised, because sometimes the women in their lives have perpetuated this sense of like, oh, if you cry, you're weak in some way, shape, or form. So there's a lot that goes into that. You said something earlier, and I was like, oh, I need to ask you about that. So around this differentiation piece, when we think about emotional intelligence, how does that show up, I guess, in everyday life?
Yeah. So we have to remember that Bell Hooks says that the first victims of patriarchy are boys because they're made to castrate themselves of feelings in order to become men. And so when you're talking about like women perpetuating this idea, we live in a patriarchal society. Yep. And when we're talking about how differentiation comes up, the law is that you're attracted to somebody along your same differentiation level. The lovers that you are loving on, hunching on, dating, wanting to marry are either a little bit above or a little bit below your differentiation level.
That's pretty scary. Because now I feel like I'm just dating bums. But I'm not a bum. I get to the work, y'all. I'm just saying.
But it's your differentiation level, right? So if you feel like your differentiation level is bummy, then we got to step your game up. If not, it's game recognized game. And sometimes people look real unfamiliar. But you might see this with like lovers who are always in clash, right? Who are like, well, evil twin, my anger go up, your anger goes up, versus my anger goes up and I'm able to hold my composure. Just because you're angry doesn't mean I have to be mad. Right? So if you feed into that same cycle, again, big fun word, we call it an undifferentiated ego mass. You remember the Facebook couples who used to be like, this is our joint Facebook profile.
Oh, yes.
Because we feel the same way about every single thing. That's not true.
Yeah, that's, they do anything for clout, but I digress. But when we talk about emotional intelligence, where are we with that in terms of workplace, in terms of our political climate? Is there any really happening right now in the political climate? I feel like
no,
it's not.
So politically, I think emotional intelligence has gone out the window along with critical thinking, right? Everybody wants to belong somewhere, and it's just we're sweeping it. And then we add on misinformation, disinformation, purposeful and woeful ignorance. So that's politically. I will say that relationally, I think people are searching more for it. So before we go out on dates, we know that millennials specifically are having less sex than ever, right? They're not out here doing as much. Before, and as a geriatric millennial who is also partnered in a monogamous relationship, we're noticing that people who are dating are having less sex because they want to know, can you name 5 feelings? What do you feel? I want to give you permission and validation to talk about feelings. And the COVID days, people had to get to know each other before they could see each other, before they felt safe. So emotional intelligence, I think, as far as partnership seeking and friendship seeking are higher. And we're starting to see some shifts in the workplaces, right? Because we know that capitalism isn't always working. We're not trying to do the Henry Ford, work yourself to death for 40 hours, because millennials will quit. And forget that 2 weeks.
Multiple times.
You're not getting the 10 days. We out, because when they fire you, they don't give you 10 days, right? So I think Gen Xers and maybe Gen Alphas, when they get old enough to work, will also do some of the same. Gen Zers are like, we're not working this way. We're starting our own businesses. We're content creators. We're going in with our friends. And so that emotional intelligence piece has been crucial in building those networks.
Which is interesting, because then you have millennials, right? And the baby boomers who are like, something wrong with them Gen Zers. They just out here. They don't work for anything. They expect everything. They are very much so, hey, I'm here and you're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah. I'm seeing the opposite in boomers, though, because boomers are looking at their grandkids and they're learning from them. They're like, oh, what do you mean my feelings matter?
Yeah.
Right? Or now I am crying at this graduation, or recognizing how important it is to show up, because they just toiled and toiled and toiled. They worked, right? And they're still working. Boomers are still in the workplace because retirement, specifically in America, is trash. So we're seeing a difference of them starting to come around and like, oh, I need to accept my queer kid. Or what do you mean I need to know about sexual health? People over 60 get STIs. Like, yes, they do. So they're starting to learn a little bit more about, oh, feelings actually do matter. And I don't want to hurt you, and I don't want to be cut off.
I think once they get past the, I think that my young people are entitled, then that's when they start to, have that clean up understanding. All right, so let's talk and switch gears a little bit about some practical ways that educators and or parents can have emotional and intelligent conversations around different topics in sexuality. So let's start with the hot topic, which is consent, because everybody talks about consent.
Absolutely. So educators in their classrooms can model consent, right? So if you're the first model, and I contend that parents are the first educators of their children and should be primary educators when they're knowledgeable, you're modeling consent. So for example, I'll use my Habs. So for my Habs, if we tickle, right now I have a 3-year-old, and so I will tickle my 3-year-old and I will pause. And my 3-year-old will be like, okay, go. And then my 3-year-old will stop. And when they say stop, I stop. And then I'll be like, okay, go again. And I'll tickle just for a couple of seconds, right? I didn't know this, but on TikTok, tickling is a really big topic. People were like tickled till they threw up. People were tickled like beyond comfort. It's a traumatic thing for people not to have control over their bodies, and somebody else is doing something that they don't like. As simple as tickling. And that gets as dark and as horrible as all sorts of assault, right? So we model consent in talking, in our physicality, and even asking a question. In therapy, I say, I'm curious about this topic. Is it okay if I ask about it? And then we wait for the answer, right? Because it's not just like, oh, I'm a hugger. Can I give you a hug? And they're already reaching to give you a hug.
Right.
That's not consent modeling.
Because that's awkward. People, that is very awkward.
Stop touching people.
Do not go for a hug. You're like, oh, are you a hugger? Because now I feel like I'm inclined to give a hug. But I will tell you no. I'm just saying.
Like, don't touch me. I'm good. I'm good. If I see you, we're good.
Unless I know you, I'm not hugging you. I'm just saying. Okay, so yes. What about intimacy? What does that look like?
So intimacy, bunch of different ways. It can be like, I'd like to get to know you better. Can I ask about this? I don't understand what you just said or did. Help me understand. And then also sexually, right? Just because you've been having sex with a person doesn't mean that consent can't be taken away mid-stroke. Right? If they're mid-stroke and be like, balls deep, I don't really care. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Then it stops. Period.com. Like, there's no more. And consent also goes, can I touch you here? Can we try this? Hey, I'm thinking about having other partners. Do you consent to that in our relationship structure?
Yeah.
So there's bunches of ways to model it.
I was having a conversation with a friend who was saying that they feel like they're a penis person, and so they were saying they feel like they always have to be on, like all the time. Like I always have to perform, and if I'm not ready to perform, and that means that I'm not doing something right. And I'm saying, why do you feel like that? Because yes, you have a penis, but your partners, whatever genitals that they have, they also have obligation to be able to support. It's a thing where we all come together, and everyone should be pleased, not just you doing the pleasing. And they didn't understand it. It was like, well, all my life I've been taught that I'm supposed to be the pleaser. And so if I can't do it, then that makes me less than. And I thought that was very interesting. And I was talking to them about maybe having these types of conversations to say like, hey, I'm not in the mood right now, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to get in the mood. But also being okay with saying like, hey, it's okay if I'm not in the mood, right? And what does that look like? Is there other ways that we can still have this source of intimacy without it being physical?
Right.
And they were like, well, I don't even know what that looks like. And I'm like, well, let's explore that. But it was very interesting because I'm like, you haven't had the opportunity to experience intimacy without it just being completely physical.
Right.
And so what level of emotional intelligence has been taken away from you with those experiences? And
also the lack of consideration, right? So I would wonder about that person's partner. Do they not pick up that maybe they're not that into this? Have they checked in consensually to see like, hey, I'm feeling this way. Would you like to feel this way with me? Do you feel this way with me? And if they're like, no, I don't, or if they don't check in at all, then that's another indicator that there's some type of difference in that emotional intelligence and consideration.
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode and you are a Philadelphia resident and you need resources about your sexual and reproductive health, visit www.phillykeeponloving.com. All right, let's talk about some more teaching.
Okay.
Because you're amazing at it. So when you're specifically teaching young people, and so I'll say, let's say between the ages of 9 and 14.
Okay.
What does it look like when they're navigating peer pressure? Just to do the most genuine stuff, or like general, like not too heavy, not just yet. We'll get to that when we talk about high schoolers.
Yeah. So even with the not too heavy stuff, right? There is if this is my friend, right, and I am feeling a type of way, and my friend does not care about my type of way. And I have an 8-year-old. So I talked to my 8-year-old around, oh, your friend did that? How did that feel? Were you able to talk to your friend about how that felt? And they'll be like, yes. And I'm like, okay, so that friend can feel safe. How did they reply? Did that friend take care of you? Right? So we're modeling in those relationships what care looks like, what it looks like to feel support, what it looks like to have boundaries. I tell my kids all the time, put up your boundaries. What's your boundary? Right? Not a rule, a boundary. Because if you assume the person's going to continue to do what they're doing, what are you going to do differently? That's the boundary. Like, if you keep doing this, this is what I am doing.
Yeah.
And so that's how we're going to take care of ourselves, but also take care of each other, because the friend groups now get involved and they're still navigating. And 9 through 14, their frontal lobes are starting to get skeptical, right? They're starting to feel all of their body changes and puberty is happening. So if like, oh, my bad, I yelled at you, I was feeling kind of grumpy that day and I was feeling annoyed by you. Mm-hmm. That's a really great thing for a kid to say. And it hurts when it lands, but it's
because they don't have no filter.
They don't.
They are very much like, this is what I said, and I said what I said.
And I meant it.
And it's okay if you didn't like it, but that's how I felt. So I definitely can see that. All right. So in moving into dating and people who are at the age when they feel like they are ready to date, what does that look like in terms of navigating? How do I find a person, or how do I even know just by maybe I'm looking at a dating profile and I'm not actually communicating with you yet? How can I gauge if you have some emotional intelligence?
Yeah. So I met my lover on Plenty of Fish back in the day.
I'm scared of that.
It was so long ago, but we were both on Plenty of Fish. I definitely slid in the DMs and, bagged the right choice for me. But I looked for values, right? So what values are they saying? Do they have, I don't know, a Punisher profile picture, right? Like what is it? What are they communicating? Is it all anime? All right. Is it them and their dog? Like, what are they talking about in their profile? What's coming up? What are you seeing? And are you values aligned with them in that way? The other thing we're also looking for is, do they handle rejection? Right? So people are really poor at handling rejection. And rejection is a way that somebody takes care of themselves. Yeah. Because they're like, I don't have capacity for this. I can't meet your need. I have no desire for this. And they're letting you know up front. Now, it sucks. It doesn't feel great. Nobody likes to be rejected. And we have to learn how to take it and be like, okay, thank you for taking care of yourself.
Right.
Because you probably don't know me personally enough to reject me on a personal level.
We take everything personal.
Everything is so personal. I'm like, people don't know you.
It's not that deep. It's not that deep. I have to tell myself that often, especially lately. There's been things and I'm just like, but actually, you're pointing the finger, but it's not me. Like, I didn't do it. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, and I'm on the opposite end. Like, I can take some accountability. Like, I did this piece and I'll own that. And I'm sorry it was hurtful. I'm sorry it impacted you this way. Is there a repair? Right? And if that person doesn't want to repair, they don't want to repair. I'm not going to be like, but you got to repair with me because I feel bad and I need you to alleviate my bad feeling. That's not emotionally intelligent.
So I think that brings me to the concept of intent versus impact, right? Because oftentimes I think when we think about how people have this differentiation, it's like, well, my intention was to do this. But even if my intention was positive, but the person who was on the receiving end took it negatively, what does that look like? And how do we get to a space where we can both mutually understand, like, hey, this is not what it was meant to be. I apologize that it hurt you, so on and so forth. Yeah. And I think as a society, sometimes it's hard to navigate the two because some people are like, yeah, you did it. You still did it though. And it's like, I hear you and I'm taking accountability for that. But where is the nuance of us trying to find a happy medium?
Yeah. So I think Dr. Jamie Campbell's example of the CPR method, CPR stands for calm yourself, practice humility, and then repair if it is consensual. So calm yourself. You messed up. You'd be like, oh no. So you've seen the people who mess up like, do you forgive me? You have to forgive me. I need your forgiveness in order. No, that's coercive. It doesn't work. And it's empty. I also don't really believe in forgiveness as a concept, but that's another thing. And you got to practice humility. Acknowledge, like, I did do this. I see how it impacted you. I'm interested in learning more how it impacted you. I'm still very sorry that I hurt you.
Right.
And then repair. If that person don't want to repair with you, you have to leave it. If it's they need some time, that's also fine. But you offer that and say, like, I'm here for repair. What that means. It doesn't mean you're below them. It doesn't mean that you're less than. It doesn't mean they get to treat you like trash. But it does mean we have to come to a mutual understanding and build some trust.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge in that?
One, when people feel critiqued, they get real defensive. And sometimes that critique is contempt. So contempt is critique with moral superiority. I am better than you and you are wrong. Now that right there, that's going to be a fight. That's going to be a fight or people check out. When people critique, people automatically put their hands up in defense. right? So it's like, I need to be able to hear this critique and take my part in it, because I don't always have a part in it, or I might have a part. I'm not saying you got to eat all of the pie, but you got to own your part of the pie.
Right.
And that's sometimes the hardest part of recognizing you did something wrong, you hurt someone, you're a part of that. And that can be really hard for people to like actually come face to face with and own.
So what are some great examples of emotional intelligence that you have seen in our field?
Oh my gosh.
And then we're also going to talk about some not so great examples.
So I really like Dr. Loretta Jamont and the evidence-based Ebbies and Debbies that she did, where they took information, taught it to barbers and stylists to help with education around HIV and HIV awareness and testing, right? So using this community that they were a part of, that they understood, people felt too nervous to talk to health practitioners. They felt too nervous to go into clinics. They weren't talking to doctors and nurses.
Yeah.
But understanding the nuance and the bond between somebody who does your hair.
Because listen,
right?
They're kind of like your therapist.
Look, me and my hairstylist have had crying sessions, okay? Together. And so that's a sign of, I really want to help with this HIV thing. I really want to help educationally. How do I help? And how do I reach across people who are really, really scared to talk about it, who are ashamed to talk about it? Where's the conduit? And they found the money, they found the evidence, they found the education, and really put something into practice that actually helped entire communities.
Not so great.
Not so great. In the sexual health field, I can't pinpoint like a person, but I think about programming that often is centric on like one sexuality educator, but they're out of touch with the experience of so many other identities. So it's only focused on one type of person and one type of sex or one type of intervention. And it leaves out, people of color, people with natural hair, people with disabilities, people with neurodivergence, people who are fat. Yeah. And so those things, that education that gets perpetuated really only helps one small facet of people.
Yeah. I like to argue the evidence-based practice curriculums as one of those where it's like, I understand you all spent a ton of money putting this curriculum together, but the last time you edited it was over 15 years ago. At this point, we need something new, something. And then, or the ones that are solely focused on rural places, but they're bringing it to urban cities, and they're like, implement the same things, like how Houseway. We cannot do the same thing. They don't have the same needs. It doesn't look the same. And all of that. So I would definitely argue that those are not the best.
Yeah. Okay, because it's not thinking of the emotions of the receiver, of the other party in this planning, right? They're trying to survive, right? They might be doing survival sex. They might be queer. They might be kinky, whatever it is. They're not thinking about those needs. It's only, we need to get this information to them to quote unquote save them. And that's always been inherently problematic.
Yeah. In our current political atmosphere, so sad. How would you describe challenges that we as educators have, as well as health professionals, when they are trying to integrate emotional intelligence in sexual health itself?
That is a loaded question. I might tear up a little bit. It feels almost insurmountable right now. I have people being labeled as terrorists, like trans people are being labeled as terrorists, which is ridiculous and completely false. We have states banning using words. We have some of the highest unwanted pregnancy rates among teens nowadays. We're losing funding in educational programs of different organizations. We're seeing the erasure of queer people all over. We're seeing a rewriting of history. And specifically for me as a Black fat woman in this country from the Bible Belt, the fact that we're still dying. We're still dying in childbirth. We're still dying because people believe racist notions about us, that we don't feel pain or that we're making things up. Even in my own OB experience, my OB invited me back to train their office. So I mitigate them a bit of hell. And they also let me go a little bit early out of hospitals. So that being said, our field right now, we have people on horrible watch lists that have to have police escorts to their classrooms for safety. We have people who are educators and sexutainers who have to call in security because of the lack of emotional intelligence. It's not we understand where you're coming from. How do we help? It's you are the enemy and you are bad and you want to hurt people, which is all completely untrue.
Thank you for sharing that. Is there a world where emotional intelligence could live freely of love, pleasure, and wellness?
Sure. I think there are microcosms of that in lots of places. Especially right now, I see a lot of it with queer community. I see a lot of it with kink community. I see a lot of it with neurodivergent communities. I see a lot of it with similar belief marginalized folks of we care about you. We want to put together an accountability pod for somebody who's hurt. We want to support one another in whatever way, shapes, and forms. I would love for it to grow as, I don't know, one of those, 80 virus movies where you just see it grow across a map of the world. So I do think it exists. I think it exists in pockets. And right now it's so important to protect those pockets of folks, to protect those pockets. People are disappearing off of streets right now, out of community.
Yeah.
All of a sudden. And so we are losing some people. And so to continue it, to grow in that movement, to grow in who we're including, I think is going to be most important, because I hope eventually we'll outnumber folks.
Leave us with one thing of hope.
One thing of hope. Well, I'm going to say it. So trans people have always been here. From the Mahu to the Muses to the Abagaros of Angola to the Hidras of India. They have been here. They will continue to be here. Trans people have existed since the beginning of time. And they will continue to exist despite the assault on them. And I would love for people to notice that people are saying, look over there, while they're doing other things that are really causing harm and disruption. And it'll take our country and our people and our educational system a long time to recover from.
Now, you always say, take what you need and leave the rest. And so out of this conversation, what did you need, or what did you get that you didn't know that you needed?
Oh, that's a good question. Out of this conversation, I think I got to stand 10 toes down on my beliefs and my belief systems. And I needed that because feeling safe is hard in places. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Great.
And I didn't know I needed it as much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lexx, and thank you all for watching another episode of Keep On Loving the podcast. So no matter how you're loving,
just keep on loving.